Now, take a look at, pick it up on page 56, Pasuk Yud. 56, Pasuk Yud. Vayhi Rav ba'aretz, there's a famine in the land. Vayirid Avram Mitzrayim lo gur sham. Avram goes down to Egypt to live there. Ki kaved harav ba'aretz, because there's a famine in the land. So first of all, you have to put yourself in the place of Avram Avinu. According to many, this is a test. Avram comes to the land of Israel, and there's a famine. Thank you very much. There's a famine. And according to the Mefarshim, this was one of the tests. Now, there are actually two opinions here. According to the Ramban, Avram Avinu actually failed the test. He should have come to Israel. There's a famine when you get to the land of Israel. And in spite of the famine, tough it out. The same God that brought you here could provide you with food. That's what the Ramban says. Most of the commentaries do not hold like that. Most of the commentaries say the test was that Avram Avinu, after doing what Hashem told him to do, he comes to the land of Israel. Hashem says, pick up a leaf, go, I'm taking you to the land of Israel. There's a famine. What are you doing to me? And so that becomes a test. Now, what kind of test it is an interesting test, because where's the test? So the definition of a test is a very interesting test. There are two types of tests in life, and we'll see what the next one is in a moment. So Avraham Avinu comes to the land of Israel, and we said yesterday, Maisa Ovosim Lavanim, that what the forefathers did is a precursor of what's going to happen to their children. So they make a joke, which is not such a joke, that when you come to Israel, you find out that financially things are tougher than you thought they were. When you come to Israel, there's a famine. There are Israelis who are leaving Israel now to go to Germany because the prices of food in Germany are so much cheaper, about a third the price. So one of those milkies, they call it. It's like the chocolate thing they come in a little cup, and it's a third the price, which means there's no reason to be selling it for so much in Israel. And Israel is the Gemara says Eretz Yisrael niknes b'yisurim. Israel is one of three things that is acquired through a certain amount of suffering, a certain amount of investment of energy. It says Torah, Eretz Yisrael, Torah. Torah also is not easy to acquire. You got to really exert yourself for Torah. And Olam Haba, the world to come, requires exertion to acquire these things. So Avraham Avinu comes to the land of Israel, and he finds there's a famine. Okay, so he turns around and he goes down to Egypt. Now, other commentaries say he passed the test. We'll see what the test was in a second. Look at the next pasuk, and we're going to take this section because this is a very, very puzzling section. Vayika asher hikriv lovo Mitzrayim. Avraham Avinu is getting close to Egypt. Vayomer el Sarai ishto. He says to Sarai, his wife, Hineno yadati kisha yafas mareot. I know that you're a beautiful woman. Now, according to the Medrash, he never looked at her. Chazal say Avraham Avinu, because of their tznius, he never looked at her, and that's why on the way down to Egypt, they happened to pass a river. They're crossing over a body of water, and he happened to see her reflection in the water, and he says, you're beautiful. I didn't realize how beautiful you are. Now we got a problem. This is particularly true in light of the fact. That she's a woman who's 90 years old at this point, 80 or 90 years old. And so according to some of the commentaries, he had seen her when she was younger, but didn't expect to see her looking beautiful at this age either. That's what the Medrash says. The plain meaning here is that the Rashi brings down, the plain meaning is that he knows she's beautiful, and he says, okay, now we're going to have to do something about it because we're coming into Egypt, which is a den of iniquity and immorality. And we got us a situation, as we used to say when we played cards. I didn't know what card to throw down. I got a situation. So the V'haya, Avraham Avinu says, okay, now we got a problem over here. V'haya ki yiru osacha mitzr, when the Egyptians see you, v'amru ishto zos, they'll say it's his wife. V'hargu osi v'osachi chayo, they're going to kill me and they're going to take you. Imri noach osiat, please say that you are my sister. Leman yitav li ba'avurech, in order to be good for me on your account. V'choisa nafshi b'gleich, and I'll stay alive because of you. So this is a very puzzling pasuk because Rashi says, Leman yitav li ba'avurech, they'll give me gifts. Rashi says they'll make me rich, and they'll keep me alive. That seems to be a little bit crass under the circumstances. You're going down to Egypt. Wife's about to be taken. You're coming down to Egypt. She's going to get taken to the palace. Then you say to her, oh, well, listen, just say I'm your brother so that, number one, they'll make me rich. And number two, they'll keep me alive. That's what you're thinking about at a time like this, thinking about getting rich. I understand you want to stay alive. So that begs the question, what's Avraham Avinu worried about? You're going to go down to Egypt, and the Egyptians are very immoral. So what do? They're somewhere, they're going to take you. Now, chas v'shalom, they don't want to commit adultery. They don't want to commit adultery, so they'll kill me instead. That doesn't make any sense. This avera they're worried about, that avera they're not worried about. They're worried about adultery, they're not worried about murder. That doesn't seem to make any sense. So the plainest explanation is, well, they don't care about either. They really don't care about either. But if it's adultery, the husband's around, it's annoying. And you can only end up with trouble that way. Let's get him out of the way. And what do you call it? Other commentaries say, well, adultery is murder is a one-off. Adultery is every time they live with her, so they're committing another act of adultery. All are forbidden by Noachide law. So adultery, chas v'shalom, let's kill the guy, then we haven't got a problem. Then like we learned in the Gemara, she gained her freedom through the death of the husband. We happen to arrange the death. Even more than that, they could, death is always one of those things that you could either find an excuse for, or you could stage, one of those terrible camel accidents, and have the camel back up and kill it. You get them out of the way. So one of the commentators, the Malbim, one of the famous commentators, he said, well, actually they had a justification because sorrow is so beautiful. They believed that, they believe Paro was a deity. Many of the societies, I think in World War II, the United States, one of the demands for Japanese unconditional surrender was that they have to stop with the nonsense that the emperor is a deity, which was a condition, if I'm not mistaken, which they ended up dropping that condition. But one of the reasons the Japanese were willing to die, the kamikaze pilots, were a problem. It's one thing you're shooting missiles at our ship. It's another thing when you're crashing your plane into our ship and you don't care if you die. It's very difficult. Anti-plane strategy was very difficult. The reason they were willing to die for the emperor because they believed that he was a deity. So the ancient world, they believed that the king had some sort of deity status. Now, a deity is a god. It's an American word. And the queen is not. What do you call it? And they believe that the king has a deity status. So there was a law in the ancient world. If there was a woman who was exceptionally beautiful, she was fit for the king. She's a goddess who is fit for the gods. You, as a commoner married to such a woman, are breaking the law. You're breaking the law, and in the ancient world, they didn't play around with prison and parole and good time off for good behavior. If you broke the law, especially the king's law, you died, right? And whether or not they actually believe it or whether or not that was their justification, that's what Avram Avinu was worried about, according to the Malbim, that they're going to kill him. So what does he do? Well, the best strategy is that you say you're my sister. And in the ancient world, if it was a sister, it was like the mafia. The mafia, if you open up a restaurant or a bakery or a business, and they don't want the business open, the mafia would rather do things clean. They'll come over and they'll offer you some money. Do us a favor, buddy. Close the business. They'll give you a couple of grand, $5,000, $10,000. They'll pay you. Just close it down. We really don't want your laundry here, and we don't want your, what do you call it here? We don't want your business here. If you decide that you do, so then we resort to fire bombs, cement, shoes, and rivers, and that sort of thing. When I had my restaurant, so I was in, I had just started working there, and all of a sudden a guy comes in, and he says he's here to collect the towels. And they're charging us $5 a week, and they collect $7 a week. They collect all the towels in the restaurant, and they launder them, and they bring them back to you at a charge of $7 a week. $7 a week at that time was a lot of money. So I called my partner up. I said, Larry, my mom is willing to, she's got a great washing machine. She'll do the towels for free. He says, Dave, just give him the $7. I give him $7. Then another guy comes in. He collects all the knives, and they sharpen the knives. And they bring them back to you for $5 a week. I said, Larry, I'll get a sharpener. I can sharpen the knives. And anyway, the knives don't need that much sharpening. He says, Dave, give him the $5. And then it turned out that this was a business in Chicago. This was a business. There's the laundry service, and there's the knife sharpening service. And if you don't want the laundry service and the knife sharpening service, then things happen. Your window could get smashed. Funny things happen, and therefore we don't want funny things. And therefore we pay the guy. It costs us $12 a week for these services, which I could have easily done myself. So they're very religious. They provide services, and you have no choice. So in Mitzrayim, listen, we'll find the excuse. And you're married to a goddess. You deserve to die. So Avram Avinu, bottom line is, I'll call her my sister. In the ancient world, you have a sister, the father or the sister, you barter her. You trade her for a couple of camels and a couple of some money, And you barter her. She doesn't really have much choice. And it's not like Aisha Niknes where the woman has to approve of it. You barter her. And they'd much rather do that than get dirty with killing people. So Avraham Avinu comes down, and the Medrash says he hid her in a box. He hid Sarah in a box. So they get to the border, and they open up the box. It's a beautiful woman in the box over there. Well, it's my sister. What's your sister doing in a box? I mean, I used to, a lot of guys close their sisters in a dark closet, and make howling sounds, but what's with the sister in the box over here? So the Medrash says he tried her border, like in Israel, you come into the country and you see nothing to declare. There are 2 lines, nothing to declare. And you see all these Jews are going through with carts loaded up, with huge Fisher Price boxes, nothing to declare as they come into the country. Nothing to declare. Oh, buddy, you want to come over here with that box over there? It's a big Fisher Price box. You open it up, there's a woman inside. Who's that? Well, it's my sister. It's the latest model out of Fisher Price. They never break. That's what the Medrash says. He came in. Okay, he tries to sneak her in. Yeah, there are cases of women in boxes. Avram Yaakov closed Dinah in a box, right? That's one of the things you do to hide them from the bad guys. But they find her. In any event, so he says it's a sister. Now, Vayikevo Avram Mitzrayma, Vayura Mitzrayim Esaisha Ki Yafa Imo. The Egyptians see the woman is very beautiful. Vayuro it's a Sore Paro. And then they apparently told the officials of Paro, hey, we got a situation, National Security Council meeting here. What happened? Beautiful woman. All right. So they go to the higher officials. Vayahalalu osa el Paro. They come to the king and they say, hey, we got a good one over here. Vatuka Chaisha Beis Paro. The woman is taken to the house of Paro. She's taken to Paro's palace. So what is their reaction? Avram Heitiv Ba'avura. They bestowed good on Avram. They made him rich. Vayilot son ubakar. He's got cattle and sheep and cattle. Vachamorim va'avodim. He had donkeys and slaves. Ushvachos and maidservants. Asonos ugmalim and donkeys and camels. They made him, this one was worth a bundle. Okay? Now, yeah, go ahead.
Avram Avinu is not worried that Hashem, something like Paro would have taken Sarah and, and she would have committed adultery.
He's very worried. And not only he's worried, that's going to beg the next question. So first question is, isn't he worried about it? Answer is, not much he could do about it. It's him against all of Egypt, number one. Number two, what could he possibly do? They're taking her. I mean, he's one man against all these people. Number one. Number two, let's go back to that original request he makes of her. He says, well, tell them you're my sister so they'll make me rich. That's what you're thinking about at a time like this. Avram, maybe you haven't noticed, they're about to take me to the palace by Paro, and Paro is not Paro is not shomer negia, as they say. Well, you're not worried over here about, of course he's worried. So what's with the rich? The answer the commentators give is what he's telling you to tell Chasara is, look, we got a bad situation here. You're going to get taken. Now, there are two options. If I get killed, you're going to get taken with no recourse. At least if I'm alive and wealthy, maybe I'll be able to buy you out of there. I'll be able to do something. If I'm alive and with money, I might be able to figure out some way to get. That's in your best interest that I should become wealthy, not my best interest. For your good, say that I'm your brother. They'll make me wealthy, and then it'll be still good on you. I'll be able to do something. Maybe I'll be able to do it the other way. I certainly can't do anything. If I'm dead, I can't do anything. As Aaron said, once you're dead, you're dead.
He did.
He dead. What are you going to do? There's very little you could do. Okay. Now, what's interesting here, so let's see what happens. And Vayinaga Hashem es Paro. Hashem smites Paro. Nigoyim Gedolim. He gives him a big smiting, which is some sort of venereal disease, which makes that aspect of what he would like to do very painful. So that takes care of that problem right away. Beso in his entire household, al dvar Sarai Eshes Avram, because of the matter of Sarai. Because of this matter, she's taken into the palace, and next thing you know, Paro's in pain, right? And his plans are definitely ruined over here. Now, the commentaries say al dvar Sarai has two meanings. Al dvar Sarai, the plain meaning, the art scroll translated it as because of the matter of Sarai, the wife of Avram. But the word dvar also is related to the word speak. And the Medrash says that she spoke. And as Paro started to put his plans into when they were all alone, she said to him, I'm a married woman. And Paro said, yeah, I've heard that before. And a malach, an angel, entered the room, and as Paro refused to forsake his plans, Sarah said to the angel, strike him. And the angel did. And, the old saying, three's a crowd. Paro learned that the hard way. And so the angel was striking her, al dvar Sarai, by her words. What were her words? She was telling him, listen, I'm a married woman, and that's forbidden for you. If I'm a single woman, it's permissible. I'm a married woman, that's forbidden for you by Noachide law. And the angel was in there, and the angel started smacking her. Now, the real question here is, since, like Eli asked, Avram didn't have much choice here. She got taken. Why is this considered a test? Where's the test here? Sometimes in life we talk about a situation, a guy lost money. So it's a test. A guy's got a medical condition. Guy finds out he's ill. Hashem is testing. What are you testing? What's the test? A test is where you got to decide, should I eat the non-kosher food or not eat it? That's a test. I'm hungry and there's non-kosher food in front of me on an airplane and nobody's around to watch me. Now I'm being tested. I'm alone in a room with an internet and now I'm being tested. Will I do the wrong thing or I won't do the wrong thing? Here, what's the test? You know what I mean? It's like being caught in traffic. You're stuck in traffic. It's a test. It's not a test. It's not like I have a choice. Will I get into hijack a helicopter and get out of here? It's not like you have a test. You're stuck in traffic. What's the test?
It's an emotional test.
What's the test?
It's emotion. It's to see how he would react.
Yes, correct. The test in life is often not what happened. What happened? Nobody chooses to lose a wallet. What was that? Okay, I have a test. Will I lose my wallet or not? That's not the test. The test, will I get stuck in traffic or not? Most people will avoid getting stuck in traffic. The test is, how do you react when you're stuck in traffic? Do you start honking, road rage, giving the people a finger, that sort of thing? Or do you say, Gamzu, it's all for the best. It's all for the best. This is what Hashem wants the situation right now. So let's put it in a proper perspective. By the way, I once read a study. They once asked people, what do you prefer least? A trip to the dentist, to be stuck in traffic, the middle seat on a transcontinental flight, or to go shopping on the busiest day in the mall on the busiest day of the year? What is your least favorite situation? And according to the study that I read, 9 out of 10 said that the least favorite situation is traffic, being stuck in traffic. When you're on a plane, you'll get there. When you're, at least you're moving. Okay, so the guy next to you, you're caught in the middle seat. You go to the dentist, at least something's happening. When you're stuck in traffic, nothing's happening. You're just there. Absolutely nothing is happening. And people get afraid. That's why they have something called road rage. I think in California, one year there were 40 shootings in California. Not 40 murders, but 40 shootings on the highways of California because of road rage. There you go. And 40, you get upset. And my father told me when I got my driver's license, he told me 2 things. When I first got it, he said, don't honk people and don't make hand gestures at people because you don't know who's got a gun in their glove compartment. So I can tell you that I fulfilled my father's wishes 50%. The horn wasn't working. At the end of the day, where's the test? The test is, let's put it in a proper perspective. Imagine you and your wife make a trip to Washington, D.C. And you're standing outside the White House, admiring it from the fence during the Clinton administration. And Hillary happens to be in China. And suddenly the Secret Service guys come out, say, hey, buddy, we want your wife. The president wants to meet her. And now she goes into the president all alone with Clinton. And she's a Jewish woman, right? Clinton has a bad track record there. Now, she's all alone in the White House with Bill Clinton, and you're standing outside. What do you think your feelings are at that moment? Gee, Clinton, and your wife's in there alone with Clinton. You understand how you're feeling? And let me tell you something. Paro makes Clinton look like a Boy Scout. Paro is immoral as they get. In the ancient world, the king, harems, whatever he's got. And your wife is alone. How do you react to that? And you just kind of smile and say, Gamzu Latova. It's all for the best. That's the test. That's the test. The test is, hey, God, why are you doing this to us? And what ends up happening is, Paro comes out, and look what Avram Avinu, look at Pasuk Yud Ches. Vayikra Paro la'Avram. Paro calls Avram. Vayomer mazos asisali. What'd you do? Lama lo higata li kishachi. Why didn't you tell me it's your wife? I'm in pain, buddy. Page 58, 3rd line. Why didn't you tell me it's your wife? The answer to that is blatantly obvious. which you'll notice Avram Avinu does not give an answer. The answer to that is, because you're a lowlife and you would have killed me if I would have told you it's my wife. That's why. Now, you can't say that to Paro. But that's and you'll notice Paro doesn't even wait for an answer. Lama Marta Chosihi, why did you tell me she's my sister? Take your wife and go. Take her, go, just go. I'm in pain, go. Right? So you notice that Vayitzav of Paro Anoshi Vayeshachoso Vesishto Veskolashal of Paro sends him out. Now, there's an interesting lesson here in life, which is completely off topic, but it's a very interesting lesson. If you have the presence of mind to do this, you'll save yourself a lot of aggravation. The rule is not every question in life is a question. Paro asked him a question. He wasn't looking for an answer. Paro was, first of all, you see the old blame the victim attitude. Why aren't you telling me it's your wife? Well, I'm traveling with her, and the two of us are together, and she's beautiful. Who did you think she was? You know, how many guys do you know travel the world with a beautiful sister for 80 years? You know, beautiful sisters get hopped up at some point or other. So, oh, gee, I had no idea. So the guy's arrested for shoplifting. I didn't know. I found it on the shelf. I didn't know it belonged to the supermarket. How was I supposed to know? I took the car. I didn't see anybody around. It was parked on the street, so I took it. I thought it was Hefker. Oh, I see. That's what you thought. So Paro is number one. Number two, not every question in life is a question. You should know, and this will avoid you a lot of aggravation. A husband walks into the house, and the wife says to him, "Why did you walk across the floor? I just washed it." He says, "Well, I had to get to the refrigerator to get an apple." Wrong. That was not a question. What was she asking? She wasn't asking anything. She was making a statement. And what was the statement? You are an inconsiderate boor. That's what she said. She happened to say it in different terminology. Why did you walk across the floor when I just washed it? Well, I had to get an apple. Oh yeah, here's an apple. Because that's all you're eating this week, right? So enjoy it. That's what the response is going to be. That was not a question. She was making a statement. There's only one response. The response is, please forgive me, I am worse than the goat on Yom Kippur, push me off a cliff, I am a sinner, I deserve all. That is what the correct response is. I learned this the hard way, by the way. I learned this the hard way, because when I first got married, the first inconsiderate thing I did was I went to a wedding. And I was at a wedding, and I didn't have sisters growing up, so I did not know this language. I went to a wedding, and I came, this was long before cell phones, and I came home late. So my wife said to me, "Why didn't you call me and tell me you're going to be home late?" I think we're married about 3 weeks before. "Why didn't you call me?" I said, "Well, I was looking for a public phone, and I couldn't find one, and so I wasn't able to call." She said to me, "You have an answer for everything." Well, you asked me a question, I gave an answer. It was a good answer, it was actually true. But for some reason she wasn't satisfied. Okay, a week later she asked me to take the garbage. Then she says to me, "Why did you take the garbage?" So I said to her, "Well, I was going to, but then you asked me to do the dishes, so by the time I finished with the dishes, I forgot about the garbage." You have an answer for everything. And I realized, I didn't, I don't know what's going on here. I didn't know what hit me. Then I realized I was thick. I wasn't that thick, so I realized, don't answer. It was only years later when I read Men Are From Mars, the book Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, I realized that the answer is because she never asked me a question. When she said, "Why didn't you call?" the correct response in woman eubonics is, "I apologize, it was inconsiderate for me not to call." You should see the reaction of girls. I tell them the story at the seminars. In Israel, when I speak at the seminar, I tell them the story. I say, my wife asked me why I didn't call, and I said to her, "Well, I was looking for a phone," and all the girls, almost in unison, they're all going like, "Oh, no, like wrong," because they are. I said, "Well, what was the correct response?" "You have to apologize," because that's the language, which we have still not been zocha. So not every question. So if a guy accosts you in religion, how come religious people got to pray so much? You know what the response to that is? If you say, "Well, we believe in Hashem," "Oh, don't give it an Hashem stuff," you made the mistake. He was never asking you. That wasn't a question. If a guy says to you, "Why did you religious people pray so much?" The response is, "Do you want an answer?" Then watch what happens to him. That's beautiful. Because the guy doesn't want to sound like an idiot. "No, yeah," because he knows he asked the question. This is particularly true. I've done this in lectures where a guy says something like, how could God let the Holocaust happen?" "Do you want an answer?" Yeah. Because there's a room full of people. If he says no, he looks like an idiot. No, yeah. I had a guy in England once. I gave a lecture at the JLE. So right after the lecture, I'm walking on, the guy says to me, I don't understand, how could Rav Aaron Leib Steinman have said, blah, 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 whatever it was he said? So I said to the guy, he's a tall, skinny guy, I said to him, do you want an answer? He goes, well, yes, I do. No, I don't. I don't know. Just like, and we both started laughing because we understand it wasn't a question. So what are you gonna, if you argue with somebody, you're not going to get anywhere. He's not listening. He wants to say his opinion. So all you got to do is say, do you want an answer? No. Okay, good. You don't want an answer. Go talk to yourself. You don't need me. You have to carry on without me. I haven't got the energy to argue with you. It's very important. Paro was not looking for an answer over here. Okay, now, take a look at the next section, page 58. Vayal Avram miMitzrayim, hu v'ishto v'chol asher lo, v'lot imo anegba. So Avram leaves Egypt. And the next pasuk says, Ve'avram kaved me'od. Avram is very, very heavy. Ba'mikne uva'kesef uvazav. With cattle, with silver, and with gold, which he got. The commentaries say that that Avram Avinu sold the other products that he was given when he left Egypt, all the cattle and slaves and everything else, and he made money on them by selling them. He was a businessman. He made a lot of money. Now you'll notice who goes with Avram Avinu? Lot. Very interesting. And who went with Avram Avinu originally when he left? And Lot. Sorry, and Lot. Interesting that Lot is with Avram Avinu. Now remember yesterday we said, what is Avram Avinu, Lech Lecha? Remember we said, what does Lech Lecha really represent at the basic level? To get away from the dirt, one thing. What's that? Lech Lecha is the dirt, get away from the Lech Luch, get away from the dirt. And we also talked about it that it's really an indication of Jewish history, Jewish destiny. And Lech Lecha, we're always going to be on the go, which represents we are going to be in exile. But who does Avram Avinu take with him everywhere? Take a look in Pasuk Vayelech Avram Kasher Diber Elov Hashem, back on page 54, fifth line. Vayelech Avram Kasher Diber Elov Hashem, Vayelech Ito Lot. And then Lot goes with it. Look at the next pasuk. Vayikach Avram esorai ishto ve'es Lot ben Achim. He takes him. Page 54, sixth line. Avram Avinu goes and he makes sure to take Lot. Isn't that interesting? Here it says they go down to the land of Egypt, and look who comes with him, Lot, and Lot comes out with him. Interesting. Everywhere Avram Avinu goes, Lot is with him. What does that represent? What does Lot represent? Until Avram Avinu is established, what is close? The opposite. Who comes from Lot? Mashiach. Right, Mashiach comes from Lot. That means Lot is the father of Moab. Lot and his daughter, when they have that incestuous relationship, they produce Moab, who's the head of the Moabite nation. Mashiach, on one line, comes from Moab. Rus comes from Moab. That means when Avram Avinu, the wandering Jew, goes into exile, what does he take with him everywhere he goes? Takes Lot. Takes Mashiach is with us. That means we go off into exile, but again, as a precursor to history, even when we're in exile, what comes with us? Mashiach comes with us. I mean, eventually the exile is going to end. And the Mashiach is going to be with us as he takes Lot, which represents the messianic redemption. That goes with Avram Avinu. Now, you were going to ask something. Okay, now, Avram Avinu, look where he goes now, because there's a very important, Vayelech lemasav, Avram travels, and Vayelech lemasav, Avram resumes his travels, min Negev ad Beis El, Adam makom asher yasham olo batchila, bein Beis El v'nai. He comes back up through the Negev, it says. Now, the Negev is the south of Israel, which is north when you come out of Egypt. You come up, you hit the Negev first. Now, I want you to look at a certain Rashi over here. Take a look at the first column on page 58. There's a remarkably fascinating Rashi here. It's 4 lines from the bottom. If you find it, please show the person next to you. Last word on the line, it says, Vayelech lemasav. He went... Right, that's Pasuk Gimel, corresponds to Pasuk. Vayelech lemasav, Rashi says, what does it mean he went back to his travelings? How does the Art Scroll translate it? He proceeded on his journeys. Okay, what does that mean? Says Rashi, Kishachazar miMitzrayim, when Avram Avinu returned from Egypt, LaEretz Canaan, Hayaholech v'lon ba'achsanios, he went and he slept in the hostels, Shalon bahen b'halichaso, the same hostels which he had slept in on his way down to Egypt. That's where he went on the way back. Limedcha derech eretz. Look at the next line. Limedcha derech eretz. The Torah is teaching you proper behavior. Shelo yeshane adam me'achsanya shelo. A person should not change his hosts. Okay, we'll see what that means in a second. Then there's another comment. Rashi says davar acher. There's another opinion. B'chazaraso para hakafosov. On the way back, he paid off his creditors. Now, what does that mean? So it's very interesting. Avram Avinu goes down to Egypt. So there are two lessons over here. Why shouldn't you switch your hostel? So one of the lessons is that when you are a guest in a town, generally a smaller town, and people know that you're there, if you stayed at somebody's house the first time you were there, you should give them the first option of hosting you the second. They may not want you, especially if silverware is missing, but you should give them the first option of hosting you. Because if you don't give them that option, you stay by somebody else, that casts aspersions on their hospitality. They say, well, obviously the food wasn't good by you, or guests weren't comfortable because they didn't stay by you the second time. Now, some cities in America, I mean, if you go to New York, nobody knows, it's big enough that nobody knows. But when I travel a lot, and sometimes I go to Jewish communities, small Jewish communities, I always give the hosts that I've been at the previous time, I always give them the option the next time. Sometimes they can't, not a privilege, I give them the option, because the only privilege is to learn English properly in England. But I give them the option because if I don't stay there, and it's more of a public forum, and I don't stay there. People ask me, where are you staying? Well, didn't you stay by them last time? Why aren't you staying by them? So sometimes they can't have me. They have family over, they have guests over, they're out of town, whatever it is, so you have no choice. But otherwise, you create, people are saying, hey, this is insulting to us. Why didn't you stay by us? Not because of me, but because, what are people going to think if you don't say it? So the first rule here is that you should stay at the same hostels you stayed at, stay at the same host you stay at. If it is something that will be noticeable, give them the first option, number one. That's derech eretz. Number two, what kind of hostels do you think Avram Avinu left Israel? He didn't have anything. He's on his way down to Egypt and he's wandering. And Avram Avinu goes down to Egypt, and what do you call it? He stays at this. On the way down, he probably stayed at hostels that you guys would stay at. On the way back, he's got money. He could stay at a 5-star hotel. The ancient world's version. They got cable, everything else in a 5-star hotel. And on the way back, instead of staying at the 5-star hotels, he stays at the same hostels. They must have been cheap hostels on the way down. There's something better on the way up. The Torah is teaching you a very important rule in life. Don't change your hostels. It means just because you're able to, don't upgrade your lifestyle. Upgrading the lifestyle is a very dangerous thing. When you upgrade your lifestyle, it's going to have an effect on you. It doesn't mean that you can't buy a better car. But you always find people, you made a lot of money, you upgrade your lifestyle. So first of all, you may run out of money. You condition yourself to a higher standard, and you may not always be able to afford it. And it does something to your personality. When you live big, you think you're big. And you can become a very unlikable person. So, there's somebody, I've never flown in business. I've never flown business class. Not by choice, but I've never gotten the upgrade to business. Almost everybody I meet always gets the upgrade somehow. A guy tells me he went home. Yeshiva guy, he flew home. I said, really? Where did you sit? He said, well, I got the upgrade. How did you get the upgrade? I don't know. They just said to me, they got an extra seat. Go ahead. Or he spoke to somebody on the plane, and he chatted up the guy selling the tickets. Somehow he gets I've never gotten the upgrade. I'm happy just to be sitting in coach, not in baggage. I've never gotten the upgrade. So somebody said to me, it's not good to get the upgrade. Because once you fly in business once, you'll never be able to fly in coach again. Now, obviously, if they give me the upgrade, I will take it. But it's true in life. If you live at a higher level, and one of the most devastating things that could happen to a person is to lose money and have to downgrade his lifestyle. It's very devastating. Warren Buffett lives in the same house he's been living in for 50 years. He lives in a regular house over in Omaha, Nebraska. He walks to get the newspaper every day. Warren Buffett walks to he won't have the newspaper delivered to his house. He says it's a waste of money. All right, so Warren Buffett's making a point. It's easy to do that when you know you could buy out the entire newspaper several times over, so you can make a point. But his point is, why should I upgrade my house? I got everything I need. What do I need a bigger house for? What do I need a better car for? You got a decent car. What do you need? You got to have the best model car. The Torah is teaching you, don't upgrade your lifestyle. If you don't have to, don't. You can do a little bit, maybe you finally change the carpeting in the living room, which is wearing out. Okay, you want decent carpeting. But don't go and start upgrade. Now I'm a 5-star hotel guy. That's the first thing Torah is teaching you, number one. Okay, now, the second comment Rashi makes here is that on the way back, Avram Avinu paid off his debts. Two very important lessons here. There's a guy in Chicago. Who once he went, a yeshiva guy. He went to rent, him and some of his friends that were going to go traveling. They wanted one of these Chevy, some truck. So they had to go to a small little hick town outside of Chicago where they have a rental. So he comes in, I think he needs 3 pieces of identification. So he was missing one piece of identification. He's a yeshiva guy, he was missing a piece of identification. The guy behind the counter is kind of a rednecky guy. And he says to him, I don't have the 3rd piece of identification. I said, well, you got to have it, otherwise I can't rent you the truck. He says, but I haven't got it, what should I do? So the guy looks and says, roll up your sleeve. So he rolls back his sleeve, and the guy sees he's got the tefillin marks on his arm. He says, oh, you got them marks. Okay, you could have it. You don't need the identification. Because he's had experience with people who have tefillin marks that they can be relied on, and they give back the truck with all 4 tires. And he's had a good experience. Can you just imagine what would have happened if he would have said, roll back your sleeve? And tefillin, you got them marks, forget it. Last time I dealt with a guy like that, he wouldn't pay me the full thing, and they sued us, and his lawyer got, I had so much aggravation. You can just imagine which way that could go. So, say, as a Jew, you want to make a certain impression. Avram Avinu had to pay off his creditors on the way back. He owed money at these hostels. I don't understand. On the way down, he didn't have the money. So what did he say? He said, hey, could you put us up for the night? I'm good for the money. I'll be back, bro. That's when you say bro. Right? I'll be back, bro. I'm good for the money. And Avram says, I'll be back. I'm good for the money. I mean, you got a guy wandering the desert, doesn't have any money to pay you. We'll put him up for the night in our hostel. Where are you going? I'm going to Egypt. You'll be back. I'll bet you'll be back. Would you trust the guy? The answer is, if Avram Avinu walked into the room, you'd trust him. If Rabbi Zweig would come over to you and say, I'm good for it. If Rabbi Samet came into the room and said, you could trust me. I'll pay you. Do you think you'd trust him? I think so. He's got a face I would trust. That's what a Jew's trying to become. Are there people you could think of in your life who you wouldn't trust? Yeah, I got a long list of people, starting with myself. I got a long list of people. There are certain people in life you just trust. Certain people, the first thing your reaction, I've met people in my life that the first thought that goes through my mind is, no matter what happens, I will never lend this guy money. That's my very first thought. I don't care who he is, I will never lend. I talked to a businessman, a guy in Australia, big businessman. I said to him, I said to him, do you ever meet people and decide that no matter how good the deal is, you're not going to go for it, you will not do business with this guy? He says, all the time. Because a guy could walk into my office, as soon as he walks into my office, I've made up my mind. I don't know if I will do business with him, but I know there are guys I will not do business with. I don't care what the guy's offering me, I will not do business with him. And he said to me, it happens all the time. So when it comes to an Avram Avinu, that's what we want to become. We want to become people that when somebody meets us the first time and we go to a hostel and say, listen, I'm good for it, I'll pay you back. We want to be the type of person who's going to say, you know what, I trust him. And that refinement of character comes through living a life of Torah and discipline. It actually changes our physical features. Our physical features change. Do you know that the word face in Hebrew, how do you say face? What is the face? Panim. The word face means panim. You know what the word panim means? It means the inside. Isn't that a strange word to use for your face? Your face is the most external part of your body. The answer is that your face is a reflection of what's going on inside. There are certain people you can take a look at and you just say, oh, her face, there's a lot going on inside there that ain't so good. I recently saw a picture of Mick Jagger. You take a look at him, and I told you, he looks like his soul was sucked out of him, and he's just waiting. He died, but he's still breathing. That's all. And you take one look at it, you say, this guy does not strike me as the epitome of holiness. And there are certain people who do. Sometimes you could be wrong. But your face is a reflection of what's going on inside of you. If you get angry, it's amazing. A 4-month-old baby looks at a face and responds to your face. And if you're angry, the baby sees you're angry. And if you're smiling, the baby sees you're smiling. The smile is a reflection of what's going on inside. That's what the face is. Your face actually reflects what your character is. And you yourselves have experienced. I remember the first time I went to Reb Chaim Kanievsky. I went in to get a bracha, and Reb Chaim was looking down learning. And I was standing in line. I got up, and I remember he looked up, and I just kind of went, like that. It was just kind of like, ooh, Could you point the light in the other direction? The lights are getting in my eyes over here. We had a guy from Or Sameach that we took in a group of guys once years ago to go get a bracha from Chaim Kanevsky. We all came into the room. And these are guys, most of them were secular, completely secular. We walked into the room, and Chaim was learning. He looks up, sees not everybody's in the room, so he looks back down and he continues learning, looks up, and he gives a bracha to the whole group. So I said to one of the guys, what did you think? He says to me, I don't know, he was exuding something. I don't know what it was, but he was exuding something. That's what the guy said to me. You know, there's certain people, you don't have to be that brilliant. You could sense the Kedusha. It's not that difficult to sense it. That's number one, what we're trying to turn ourselves into. Number two, Avraham Avinu pays off his debts. The commentaries say, on the way down to Egypt, you know what people were probably saying to him? Hey, Abe, what happened with all those promises from God, Abe, about wealth and everything else, you know? On the way back, he comes in with gold and silver. He got a little bit of payback. Hi, fellas. Hi. He's got some debts to settle. Pay back his debts. All right. Everybody have a good Tuesday.